brief rundown of some of the camps. Think of a camp roughly as an equivalent to a congregation. Let's look at some of the camps. These are One West camps first, and I'll explain what that means later. Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. There's the commanding General Yohana, claims to be second only to Christ. If you guys saw recently in Texas, his group went down to the Texas border and made the news because they brought truckloads of food to the Haitians and preached to them Hebrew Israelism. The other man is Captain Tazariak, who's a regular on Sa-Neta TV, if you've ever seen that. Next one, please. Israel United in Christ. They're known for large marches throughout cities whenever they have their men's conference. And the last one, they had about 1,000 people march through the street. They've done this in Memphis. They've done this in South Chicago. Gathering of Christ Church. I mentioned them earlier in regards to Fantasia. There's Rakah in the middle, Elder Rakah. Great Millstone. They're famous with a discussion they had with Polite, if you all know Polite, where they said in the kingdom they will get 12-year-old girls. And Tahar, the man in the middle, who I've debated in Morningside Park in Harlem, is the one who was saying that, if you've seen that video. Sakari, as I mentioned earlier, probably one of the fastest growing besides IUIC. They're not the largest, but they are growing, and one of the most dangerous. For example, the 10 Commandments. Think about the 10 Commandments. They think none of them apply if the person's not an Israelite. So you can steal from Walmart. You can lie to a Chinese man. You can have relations with women of other nations as long as they're not an Israelite. It's not fornication because they're not even it's almost like they're not a person. The list goes on and on about how it doesn't apply. Now let's go to the non-One West camps. This is where you need to understand Hebrew Israelism is not just fringes on a corner anymore. As religions grow, they change. When Mormonism was first coming out, hundreds some years ago, do you think the local pastors in New York thought one day this man is going to have a successor and there's going to be a major college in the United States named after this man's successor? Do you see what I'm saying? Cults change and grow and get institutionalized. Brigham Young University. Hebrew Israelism is not going to stay how it is. So sometimes when people hear about this, they think of one version. It's not all like that anymore. And I want you to realize just because something doesn't look like the way you thought it would look doesn't mean that it's orthodox. For example, some of these groups you'll see, oh, look, they're diverse. They must be okay. I have had people say that to me, right? Since when has diversity equaled orthodoxy? The Jehovah's Witnesses are incredibly diverse. The early Gnostics were very diverse. What a low standard we have because we're used to Hebrew Israelites being exclusive. Oh, look, they're diverse. They must be okay. What? The ideas. So let me show you some. Israel of God has a 6,000 seat church in a suburb south of South Chicago called Riverdale, Illinois. I've met them. Very, very nice people. If your stereotype of Hebrew Israelites is mean, they're not mean. But is the Trinity a reality? No. Are Gentiles secondary in God's kingdom? Yes, they call it the protocol. Is the Trinity a reality? No, the Holy Spirit's actually an angel, etc., etc., etc. But they're very nice and even do some good things for the community. Straightway Truth Ministries. They have a compound outside of I forget what city is in Tennessee. Used to be a Pentecostal church. Then they changed. Very diverse. They're the ones getting a lot of the football players. But Pastor Dow is clearly a cult leader. They get young girls when they're 17 where they talk to them. And as soon as they turn 18, they have them move to the compound. This has happened. Because they believe in polygamy. Actually, they call it polygyny. So regardless of diversity, doesn't matter. Stephen Darby, now he's dead, looks just like a normal pastor. Or maybe an old school R&B singer, I don't know. But Stephen Darby still has influence. And people think, well, he's okay. When you listen to what he's saying, with a discerning ear, it's not okay. Well, they have some truth. Don't all false religions have some truth? Most people wouldn't be attracted to them if it was all lies. I have seen more and more people wanting to deal with kid gloves when it comes to the ideas of Hebrew Israelism. They have some truth. They do some good things for the community. You can say the same thing about the Nation of Islam. You can say this. Why all the caveats? We have something that is an idea opposed to the essence of the gospel. We don't need to make all these caveats. Next, Omar Bu. Well, he doesn't look like calls Ashkenazi Jews Ashkenazis from the pulpit. Promoted the 400-year prophecy, which now they've changed what that means, because it's supposed to be 1619 to 2019, the end of the captivity. He's a false teacher. Looks like it's just a church though, right? Might be on the radio. Lastly, I'm going to go to someone who's internet only. Most of those folks I've shown so far have actual physical buildings and locations. But you might go to a website called Black History in the Bible. Sounds good, right? Sounds okay. Kind of like the African Bible commentary Zondervan put out. Like, that sounds like a good resource. But you go there and realize this is ran by a Hebrew Israelite who will claim, I hold the orthodoxy, but when you actually talk to him and have a debate, it's clear he does not. So it's also internet stuff. And guess who one of the main people influencing Eshawn Burgundy is? Dante Fortson, who runs Black History in the Bible, who also heavily promoted the 400-year false prophecy. Which, by the way, shows you how American-centered this religion is. 1619, that's just for the states. When you ask them, they'll say something like, well, we all know America is what the world watches. Something like that. Like some of his affiliates he runs with called the End of the World Ministries. That's literally their name, TEOTW. That's what they said. Why start in 1619? And they've had to revamp what freedom from captivity means. What do they teach, though? That was quick, that was fast, that was furious. This is the basic version.